The latest rumors coming out about the MCU suggest that the budget for the upcoming Captain America Brave New World could be in the ballpark of $375 million. And if that's the case, that would make Captain America Brave New World the second most expensive MCU movie to date, just behind Avengers Endgame. But unlike Captain America Brave New World, Avengers Endgame had a reason for why it was so expensive. I mean, this was at the height of comic book movies. It cost $400 million to produce that, but they probably spent somewhere around $100 million just for the stars of that movie alone, because there was a lot of big names in that movie and a lot of them had contracts that demanded a lot of money for being in that movie. What did Robert Downey Jr. get, like $30 million or something like that, $40 million for that movie? I don't know, but they spent a lot on that movie for a lot of the cast of that. But also, Avengers Endgame was the big culminating event for everything that's been in the MCU up until that point. We're not getting that with Captain America Brave New World, because the reason that movie is getting so expensive is just the simple fact they don't know what they're doing with it. There's been a lot of rewrites to that movie and a lot of other reshoots and stuff like that. So because of all that, the budget has kind of gotten out of control. And if they're going to continue on like this, I can't see them actually making a profit off of it if the $375 million mark is actually true. In fact, I couldn't see them making a profit off of it if it cost $300 million, but that's another thing entirely. But let's dive into this article from Bounded in the Comics. It's kind of talking about it as if Marvel Studios' production problems with Blade weren't bad enough. A supposed insider is reporting that thanks to its recent round of reshoots, the budget for Captain America Brave New World has gotten absolutely out of control. Like all movies, Brave New World was allotted a brief period following its principal photography to conduct reshoots, the filming of which started in May 2024 and lasted roughly 22 days. And I've said in past videos that just because there's bad test screenings doesn't necessarily mean the movie's going to be bad, because that is a time when the studios are workshopping ideas. They might put something in the movie for a test audience that they're not necessarily sure will work, but they want to put it in there anyway just to see how the audience receives it, because you know they could be wrong. But when you're getting a lot of word that the test screenings are going bad for the studio, and then they're bringing in new writers and hiring new people to be in the movie, well, then that suggests that the underlying issue isn't just some things that need to be tweaked with the editing. It shows that there's more of a foundational problem with it that they're going to have to spend a lot more money on if they want to try to fix it. But rather than a simple and standard round of additional photography, the reported widespread rejection of the film's initial cut by test audiences instead resulted in these reshoots being used to make a number of massive changes to the overall film, including the complete removal of the previously filmed Serpent Society plotline, the introduction of a new and as of yet unidentified villain played by Breaking Bad star Giancarlo Esposito, and the addition of more action scenes. Given how labor intensive they seemed, many speculated that these reshoots would end up costing Marvel Studios more than they were looking to spend, especially in light of Disney's overall goal of getting a better handle on their falling finances. And I think that is pretty reasonable to assume that this is costing Disney more than they look to spend on this, because normally they do budget for a certain number of reshoots or a certain number of days of reshoots like that. When you hear the reported budget, that's usually included in it. But when you're bringing in new writers at the 11th hour after the first round of reshoots were supposed to have been concluded already, and then you're hiring someone like Giancarlo Esposito to play a villain in it, and you're taking away certain plot lines and stuff from your movie and changing things around, then at that point, you're probably starting to spend more than what you initially budgeted for on your reshoots. Yet at the end of May 2024, a purported Marvel Studios insider assured The Hollywood Reporter's Boris Kitt that regardless of the film's extensive restructuring, Brave New World's final price tag would come be significantly less than the reported $270 million it cost to make the Marvels. And I can see why they don't want to draw that comparison between the Marvels, because that was the biggest failure for the entire MCU. They spent $270 million, or at least that's how much they're willing to admit to. It was probably more than that, but $270 million, and it made less than $200 million at the global box office. And that was the result of them not having a handle on what they're doing with the movie and having to do a bunch of reshoots and other things like that. Yeah, people will say COVID and the strikes caused some delays. And yes, there is a certain amount of budget that gets eaten up as a result of that. But still, it doesn't justify the price tag with what they actually spent on that movie. And it seems like it's kind of doing more of the same when it comes to Captain America Brave New World. Unfortunately for Marvel, it now seems this claim may have been nothing more than either misinformed optimism or blatant PR fluff. Relaying information allegedly relayed to him by a contact deeply embedded in the current Brave New World reshoots World of Reel's Jordan Rumi reports that on top of an already confirmed budget of $275 million, these reshoots are said to cost Disney Marvel anywhere between $75 million and $100 million. To this end, Rumi contact opined, it's like they're shooting a brand new movie. And this is something I was thinking about when I heard about these reshoots going on. It was, last month when there was word coming out that said that they're bringing in a new writer for the movie. They're casting Giancarlo Esposito as a villain for the movie. And I was thinking at the time, you're not going to bring in someone like Giancarlo Esposito unless you're going to give him a prominent role. And if you're going to give him a prominent role in the reshoots, then that suggests that there's going to have to be a lot of stuff that they shoot for the movie, or you're maybe just giving him a cameo and setting him up for something else. But if they're going to be doing that, then it doesn't make sense that they're going to bring in a new writer. Presumably you'd use the existing writers that you have and just try to find a way of working them in, as opposed to bringing in someone new and then shooting for 22 days, which doesn't necessarily sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but you can shoot a whole other movie within that time frame if you're kind of like on the ball with it. So doing a bunch of reshoots like that, yeah, I can see that being the case. But of course, a lot of this is kind of hearsay rumors, so we don't know what the final result is or how much they're spending on it. But if it is somewhere in the neighborhood of $350 to $375 million, and this is a movie that probably needs to make $900 to $1 billion at a minimum in order to break even. This article says $700 to $750 million to break even, but that's not really factoring in the marketing costs or anything like that. So this is one of those movies, if they're spending this much on it, then I can't see them actually making a profit, because if you look at what Marvel's been doing the last several years, they're not making billion-dollar movies. The last one they had was Spider-Man No Way Home back in 21. And then before that, the last billion-dollar movie they had was Spider-Man Far From Home back in 19. So this is not the right time to be spending this type of money on a movie. And I think they understand that. But at this point, they're just the sunk cost fallacy. They don't know what they're doing. So they're just going to try to salvage what they can and then hope for the best. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you think it's reasonable that they're spending this much money on a movie, or do you think this isn't true and these are just rumors? Just disregard them. They're not spending this much on it. I'm curious what other people have to think about this. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to like and share the video because it helps out with the channel. Thank you.